Well, hello there, Kansas City. Stephen St. John here with another episode of Hot Mic with SSJ. Before we get into the real shit with Frank Bull, I'd like to thank our wonderful sponsors, Patrick Carter. You can look up Patrick Carter at kcfarmersagent.com and get more information about Patrick and why he enjoys this podcast and why it's important to go local when you go with an agent. kcfarmersagent.com, Patrick Carter, and of course, Frank, the reason that you're still kicking, CBD American Shaman. You enjoy all of their products. You bathe in the ointment, and it gets your. Last week you told me it gets your fingers moving, right?
Yeah,
is that what you said?
Both hands moving. Yeah.
Did you know that, Lebo?
You got to be on the knuckles and stuff.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, you got to be able to bend.
That's right.
Yeah, so
CBD,
it's good for you.
CBDAmericanShaman.com
Best ever.
for all of their wonderful products that we enjoy every day here on Hot Mic with SSJ.
What's that website?
CBDAmericanShaman.com.
It's not Ducom?
No, it's not. That's an inside joke. And thank you, Lebo, for already derailing this podcast, but well played.
Goodness.
Well played.
So here we are. This is episode 2 of our deep dive into the career of Frank Bull. And see, people loved the last episode, and you were worried afterwards, oh, we're boring people to tears, and they loved it. Were you happy with the response?
Well, my kids go, we had no idea.
Right? Oh, see, that's what I was going to ask you.
Right. No,
was a lot of that like news to them?
Absolutely,
or were they like, oh, shit, we've heard these stories before?
No. You know what? And I said it before, and that's why it was tough for me. You told me, well, come on and do this. I'm going, what? In God's name. And then I thought, well, he's smart because they did the Jake thing, right? Mm-hmm. Which was viewed by 8,463,000 people.
That's right.
So
accurate.
I'll be the guy, I'll be the tweener right afterwards. I'll be the disaster, and then they'll move on and get something else for it.
It's not a disaster, and it's very interesting, don't you think?
I think it's great.
These two are two of the guys that we were talking about different ideas, and we said, you know what, we need to do origin stories about the personalities around 810, and both Lebo and Frank Bull's got to be at the top of that list.
Well, we've done a lot of talking about ourselves on the radio, but not in this way, to where I think every one of us, people feel like they know people at our radio station.
I can't wait to get your backstory. That's going to
get after it. But they, and people need to know this. I remember, gosh, it was like fucking 20-some years ago. Mm-hmm. We did this thing at the Truman Library where they had us come out and interview World War II veterans.
They asked me to do that, and I couldn't go, and I've been pissed off about that ever since because I wish I would have been there.
Really interesting. You're making a historical record, and we're losing people of Frank's age every day. We're losing TV anchors every day.
Holy shit, man.
And
good God.
No, so, I mean, I was telling Frank before.
How did Frank before he's on the slab?
How did he just
no,
he's basically saying we wanted to interview you before you're in the ground. And what the fuck?
No, I was telling Frank, my dad is about to be 81, and I've learned more about him the last few years talking to him about other shit besides just what's going on today,
right.
About his history in his life, and I think you've done that a lot in your life. But you've learned from your dad things that you didn't maybe know on this podcast.
Told me things that he's never told me before.
So
yeah,
so I think it's important. And like, listen, you're not my dad, okay?
Right.
But
he could be. We need to investigate. That's right.
23andMe. I don't know. But like, he's a mentor of mine, and so I think it's fun to talk about these things. And we've had lots of crazy good conversations over the years, but we haven't done it. It's just us talking
like this.
Now it's recorded.
Is it fair to say when you were a young journalist in television that you nursed at his teat in this business?
Yes.
And he nourished you, and you grew from
the nourishment that he offered you. He put me out like a little fawn on the wobbling legs.
Staggering around on his legs, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I've seen him do that a couple of times. Yeah. Okay, so where we left off is you're making the move to Green Bay, Wisconsin in 1980. And so take us back to remind us where you were and then how you end up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, please.
I think we talked about this a little bit. Okay, so I leave Eureka. The guy from Green Bay had gotten a job in Orlando, Florida. By the way, his name was Glenn Deemer. I had to look it up later because I'd forgotten all about it. He left. He was going to be the sports director in Orlando. He spent many, many years there. He was a very popular guy and did the whole thing. So the news director from the station in Orlando said, sorry, really liked your tape. This guy has more professional sports stuff on it. You don't beat in Eureka. He said, so we're going to hire him. And I was really disappointed. I said, I know you're disappointed. He said, but there's a job in Green Bay. And I went, oh. So as soon as I hung up the phone with him, I called Green Bay. And I think I told this story. I called Green Bay, got a hold of the news director. And I said, I want to apply for the vacant sports job.
We don't have a job.
It was a weekend job, okay? It was a weekend job. I wasn't the sports director. So he goes, we don't have a job. I said, yes, you do. I said, I just came in number 2 for Glenn Deemer, who's going to Orlando, Florida.
God damn it, Glenn's leaving.
I know,
That's right.
that was it. And so,
Glenn, get in here.
And so well, Glenn wasn't even back from Orlando yet.
Airport.
He wasn't even back yet.
Oh, he was going to get a warm reception.
Yeah, it was one of those deals where you always did on your days off.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Every 2 days off in a row. And if you're going to go interview, you got to go then. So he took my tape. Sight unseen. They didn't have me in for an interview or anything. Didn't fly me into Green Bay or anything else. Probably because of the weather. It was right at the end, beginning of December. And so he said yes. He said, you start on January 1st. And I went, okay.
All right.
So I got U-Haul, and now I have a 6-week-old baby in Garrett.
This is G.
Okay, this is G.
Baby
he was
G.
born in Eureka. So no wonder he's a little weird. He's a
California dude. He's no NorCal.
But so, I moved to Green Bay. And right in the middle of winter, just brutal place. I remember when Jan was coming through the airport, we flew her into Milwaukee, had to go pick her up, right? And we get down to the baggage claim area, and you know how the doors go to the outside. My car I have a news car outside running. Okay, I mean it's right outside the terminal door, and you can see the smoke coming out of the exhaust pipe.
Trying to keep her
I can
warm.
still see this, and so here come the bags, and she gets down. And Jen was Californian, from the beginning, and
Love at first sight in Green Bay.
she gets in there, and she gets down there, and it's cold in the baggage room, right? But it's not.
Not
terribly
outside cold.
And she goes, oh, well, this isn't too bad. Somebody walks through the door, and the door opens, and in comes the north wind. She goes, you're trying to kill me and my baby. You're trying to kill the baby, too. I said, oh, my God.
So, but how about you? Were you like, oh, shit?
Well,
Are you kidding me?
yeah, it was. I knew it was going to be tough. So I think even as I got there, I didn't think I was going to stay there very long, and I didn't. Okay, because I knew it was. I mean, that's a tough place.
But you told us you
Green
got
Bay's
2
a tough
winners
place.
in at least. That was smart.
Yeah, I was smart. January and then till the next March of 1981 before I get here, right? So I go up there, and the main guy, the station I worked for was a monster. I mean, the ratings they doubled up everybody. Okay, it was WBAY-TV. And they had this long time anchor team together. The main anchor, last name was Ramsey. John Chandick was the weather guy, and Ken Lass was the sports guy. He was the sports director, and he was always angling to try to get a play-by-play job somewhere. We had the Green Bay Packers preseason games, so Ken would do the play-by-play. Only got to do one season, but Ken would do the play-by-play. Paul Hornung was the analyst,
Right.
okay, and I was on the sideline. And Max McGee did the radio. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have Paul Hornung, Max McGee, drunk the day they played the Chiefs, and that
Right.
Max McGee is doing radio. So, but Ken Lass was there. He was really well established, and I got in there, and we had those consultants at that time, right? And these consultants work for various stations all over the country, and they're always looking for talent to go here, there, or wherever. So Ken Lass was always trying to get out, and the consultant didn't want to break up the anchor team.
Right.
Because
He was so good.
So I called Glenn Deemer, the guy who left, on the phone. I said, what's going on up here with this deal? Because I'd been there maybe 4 or 5 months, getting these vibes from Lass and, all this stuff. It was crazy. So I said, what the heck's going on up here? And he said, well, Lass wants out, but they don't want to break up the anchor team. So he said, whenever you're thinking about leaving, he said, get a hold of this consultant, and he'll massage the deal, and you'll probably get out before Lass does. And lo and behold, I'm looking to go. Okay, I'm looking to find a new job somewhere. I want to get out of Green Bay because it's the coldest place on earth. And so I go to the consultant. I say, hey, I can't stay here much longer. I think
My California wife is going to kill me.
Going to kill me. So I said, we got anything going? So I was there for I think I was there. I was there for a total of 15 months.
Right.
Was all, but two of the 2 winters. And as we got into the second winter, which was like July 10th, okay, we start moving. So I start the tapes. He says, "Hey, I might have some things for you." Boom, boom, boom. The whole deal. So what it comes down to is, again, Ken Lass isn't getting out. Frank Bowl,
he's held hostage.
He's held hostage
by
in
success.
this place, right? So yes, because he was that good. He was a damn good anchor too. But all he wanted to do was play-by-play. But he just couldn't get it done. He would eventually get that done. But he went to Alabama and ended up doing Alabama football. So he did really well. So the deal was, he comes back and says, I got two offers for you. And he said, "Yeah, I want you to talk to both these stations, and then it's up to you. You know what you want to do." And I said, "Okay." One was KSTK in St. Louis. Okay. The other one was WDAF TV in Kansas City.
Oh boy.
So me, I don't know anything about anything. I don't know much about the Midwest except that picture I took.
It's flyover country, is all it is.
Right. So I'm figuring which one's the biggest market. And he says, St. Louis is the biggest market. I said, okay, great. Because in my mind still, I'm working my way. Now you can see I'm gone from California or Washington to California to Green Bay. Now could be a Midwest job. And the next one would be Pittsburgh.
You're working your way back home.
I'm trying to work my way back
Pittsburgh.
home, right? That was my initial thought.
But you're looking at St. Louis. St. Louis is the bigger market, but didn't Kansas City have Dick Hammer? Is that part of the
Kansas City had Dick Hammer.
And see, a lot of people were asking if he would be a part of this episode.
No, Dick Hammer is not any more parts of any more.
Well,
He's still living here, though?
I just made him a part of it.
Right.
So.
Yeah,
but he was still here. So that was Dick Hammer was no attraction to you?
He was still here. No.
Okay. All right,
I'd already been to Kansas City.
All right.
Can I ask you one real quick Green Bay
Sure,
thing?
go
I don't
ahead.
want to get lost there, but did you meet Bob Harlan when you were there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Did you meet little baby Kevin Harlan?
Yeah, he wasn't a baby then. He was
teenager?
early in high school somewhere, right there. I'll tell that story in 1 second. Okay, we'll go that story. So I go to Green Bay, and it's a great opportunity because you're in Green Bay, number one. You got the Packers, number two. Bart Starr was the head coach. He wasn't the quarterback,
right.
okay? Lynn Dickey was there. Paul Kaufman was there. Yeah. James Lofton was the wide receiver there, the whole deal, right? So this is good. You know, you're thinking, this is good resume stuff. We'd go down to Milwaukee on the first series of every homestand, like the first series of every team, first game of every series they played, right? And we'd go down when they were hosting whoever, and we'd get a bunch of stories and bring them back up. We wouldn't go down again until the next series we get down to the first game. But you're getting some good stuff.
Doing major league stuff.
Yeah, you're getting, and we had the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, so we're doing interviews with those guys and all things. So it was good. This is a good job. That's a good job from there. The only problem is the weather is just awful. So we do all that. So we go to summer camp. The first year we do preseason camp with the Packers, and Bart Starr's already been their coach for a couple years, and it's not going well. All right, and so we're out there, and my photographer and I go over. This is my first deal into an NFL. This is my introduction to NFL. It's the Green Bay Packers. So Bob Harlan was the general manager of the Green Bay Packers. That's Kevin Harlan's dad. And great guy, awesome guy, just really a super guy. So I'm at camp one day, and my photographer and I are walking around. We're doing interviews, and this kid is trailing right behind me the whole time. He's like on my left shoulder. I'm like, yo, man, how you doing? Good. And then he's picking up balls and throwing them and doing stuff and towels and doing all that crap.
Are you irritated by him? Do you like him?
Well, no, I wondered, what the hell is this? Yeah. So, but we're busy doing our stuff. So we get done, and we walk over to the sideline, and I'm standing there, and he's out in the field now, this kid. And I went to my photo. I said,
Who the fuck is
that kid? And he goes, oh, that's Bob Harlan's son, Kevin. Oh, Kevin, buddy, how
Come
are
here.
you? Come on over here.
Can I do something for you?
What do you want to know? Come on over here. So, and he would ask questions. I mean, you knew he was interested.
Did he have that fucking voice even?
He had.
Hello, Frank.
Like
I'm Kevin. Right.
Yeah, just like he had it, just like Phil.
Right.
You look at him and go, oh my God, where'd that kid
So you
come
knew something was happening.
Well, I knew he was very interested, but I wasn't there long enough to do the deal. So.
But I just wanted. I thought you had met him.
That's exactly.
So now you're making your offer here. You got the Scales of Justice out, St. Louis, Kansas City.
Okay, so I got the Scales of Justice. So I got St. Louis, Kansas City. So I interviewed both, sent tapes to both. They're both interested. So went to St. Louis, interviewed there first. I'm in there, and we go through the whole interview. They're talking money, talking the whole thing. And the guy goes, here's the problem. And I said, we're just bought by the newspaper. Mm-hmm. So we have to put a 90-day freeze on hiring anybody. But as soon as that 90 days is up, you're going to be our sports director here. I went, okay, all right, sounds good to me. So I leave. I'm thinking I'm going to St. Louis, but I've got an interview scheduled for Kansas City. And the consultant goes, you got to go to KC. Okay, you got to go. You got to do this for a minute. Go to KC. They're paying for the whole thing. Don't worry about a thing. So I flew into KC.
From St. Louis, or did you go back?
No. I went back. This was like a couple weekends later. Right?
So you land, like, who's waiting for you? Take us through how they rolled out the red carpet for you.
I have no idea how I got from the airport to the station.
Okay, so you get there, you're at the station.
Right. Mike McDonald was the news director at that time, and Earl Beal was the general manager. Right. Now, God rest his soul.
Who were the big talents at the station at this point?
Well, Cynthia Smith was there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Dan Henry was there.
Okay.
He said it would be like this.
And who was the male? Was it Stacey Smith? I think it was Stacey Smith.
Phil wasn't there yet.
No, Phil was still. Phil came after Stacey. So it was Stacey Smith was there. So Cynthia and Stacey, no relation.
Who was the
Dan
sports
Henry?
department?
The sports guy was Steve Oakley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he was the only one I really knew. There were a couple other guys that they had talked about. Oh, I'm sorry, Denny Treese.
Denny Treese was doing sports and Roy.
Wow.
And Gordon Dockey.
Gordon Dockey
was also there. Okay, so those guys there, and Steve Oakley was the main guy, but he had left, so that position was open. Okay, the main guy.
So this was to be the main.
It's supposed to be the main guy, but I'll get to that story in a minute,
right.
okay? So the deal is, I go to Mike McDonald, and they were great to me. They're in there, out there, and they did the whole thing, like I said, and then I said, well, here's the deal. I appreciate it, but I've got an offer from St. Louis. And McDonald went from what station? I said, KSTK. Yeah. And he said, they were just bought. Right? And I said, yeah, there's a 90-day freeze on hiring. But he said, as soon as the 90 days is up, you got the job. He said, you sure? And he just planted that seed.
Fucking seed of doubt in your mind.
It was so...
That's very Mike McDonald.
It was so subtle
genius.
And so smart that I didn't pick up on it until about 5 years later, right?
So you go bird in the hand.
So he goes...
Two in the bush.
He goes, whatever.
But looking back, was there something to that? Would you have?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Now I've got responsibility. If it was me, if it was just me, I wasn't married yet, didn't have a little kid, I would have waited.
But I mean, was he just bluffing, or do you think there was a chance you really would not have gotten that job?
I don't know.
Who did they hire?
I don't know.
Was that like Cusimano or something?
Oddly enough, you're not going to believe this. Dick Hammer was hired in St. Louis.
You know what? I don't remember who they ended up hiring. But Mike Bush eventually went there from Channel 9, but it wasn't him. And then he went to become an anchor. So we're jumping way ahead of the story.
But when you get here to Kansas City, who are the people, like who's at 9, who's at 5? The 41 doesn't exist.
Okay,
there's no news.
Let me give you another story here before we sign the contract.
Oh, shit. We still got
deal
money.
is,
money talks.
So St. Louis...
They put him up in a yurt in a junkyard.
I think St. Louis offered me $21,000 KSTK.
What were you making in Green Bay?
That's the kicker of the story. Okay. So the deal is, St. Louis offered me $21,000. Kansas City offered me $18,000. I'm leaving Green Bay. I'm making $23,000 as the number 2 guy. But I was doing Northeastern Wisconsin Championship bowling. Bowling with bowl.
Bowling, yeah.
Bowling with bowl, man. I did that every week of it.
Bowling with bowl.
I was doing, there was a lot of independent stuff. They gave me the bowling with the Northeastern Wisconsin Championship bowling deal. I did the preseason games with those guys. I did a hunting and fishing series with some
you never picked a gun up in your life.
Did you get extra money for that?
Money for those things.
How did you pull off anything about hunting? You never.
I didn't know a thing.
Only thing you ever hunted. I'll tell you the only thing you ever hunted.
Here's the best part. I was a dead shot then.
You say this fucking word every podcast, so just get it off your chest.
What word?
I'm not going
to say that
because that's what you do.
I'm not. Now you're getting me all hot here.
People have asked, like, why does he like to say that?
That's
his favorite word.
Too. Let's knock it off. So I'm making $23,000. These two are both offering me less than I'm Green Bay
to come to a bigger market, though.
A bigger market, and to have a bigger job.
It's 6 degrees warmer though. Jan's like, take the job.
Yeah, right. So I go back to on my way back to Green Bay. I really didn't discuss a whole lot of things Jan. No, because I thought this is your part of the family. This is your deal. You got to keep them safe.
Breadwinner.
Breadwinner, keep my old school from my father. You keep the roof over their head, keep meals on the table, get them to go to school, do all that sort of thing. So I go back, and on my way back, that seed was planted in there. And when I go back to Green Bay, I called St. Louis and said, I'm not taking the job. I don't want to wait. And I called Mike McDonald and said, I'll take the job here in KC. And then would you ask me?
Who else was here?
Right. So
who was at 9 and 5?
I get down here.
Just take us back in time. Channel 41 is not affiliated.
In existence.
It's just
only 3 stations.
Yeah.
4, 5 9.
Because Fox doesn't exist as a network.
Does not exist yet, right?
ABC.
So I came in, and Jack Harry, Don Fortune.
They were at 5.
And Gene Fox.
They were all at 5.
They were all Channel 5. Len Dawson.
Damn.
Len Dawson, and I forget who the weekend. A couple years later, Karen will come at 83. Right. She's been here for a long, long time.
Right. But Mike Bush was there, and he had left, or no?
No.
But Craig Sager was already gone from 9.
Yes. Right. Yes. Yeah. Sager was gone.
But Len Dawson was the main guy at 9.
He just come in and do his thing and go home. He didn't. He wasn't out in the field doing a whole lot of stuff. He's Len Dawson.
Hey, that's fucking bullshit, Frank. He's in there pounding scripts out. I love Len.
You know better. Yeah. So the guys were. I wrote some of these down. Dave Stewart wasn't there yet. So there are a bunch of guys that are coming through here now. That 9 had them. 5 had the other guys.
And you were
I
Jordan
come into Channel 4.
Denny.
Okay. Denny Treese is already there, and so is Gordon Docking.
And Denny's doing the Royals games, right?
We had Royals baseball, and that's all Denny wanted to do. He really didn't want to be on the air. He really didn't want to anchor, didn't want to do stories, but he had to in order to do the Royals games.
Yeah, he would do like Big 8 basketball.
He'd do a bunch of stuff.
ESPN basketball even.
He did all kinds of stuff.
So you come here to be the number one guy.
I come here to be the main anchor.
How was that received by the other two?
Not as sports director.
Right.
Okay, here's the problem. When Steve Oakley left, he didn't leave on very good terms. He took off and went with his brother-in-law down to Texas in the oil business. But he left behind a few things. I think the thing that really, the straw that broke the camel's back was Steve. It was either a miscommunication, misscheduling situation or whatever, but he ended up asking for a one-on-one interview with Tom Watson. Right? Mm-hmm. And he's going through Chuck Rubin, who is not just his brother-in-law, but he's also his agent.
His publicist agent.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they set it all up or whatever, and Channel 4 never showed.
Oh, shit.
So I don't know this. Okay? I don't know anything. And I'm not even told this for a while. Okay? So I get there. You're going to anchor, the early news and the late news. But Mike McDonald said, I'm going to be the sports director. Too. I'm going to be news director. So I'm going to take care of everything.
Mike McDonald's going to be the sports director.
That doesn't seem like a good idea to me.
Mike McDonald is going to be the sports director. So I'm thinking, the last time I was sports director, I was in Eureka. Okay, so it's just me. It was a one-man show then. I was out shooting my own stuff and the whole thing way back. It was a one-man band way back then.
Before it was MMJ.
Jeez, yeah. I was shooting 16-millimeter film, for God's sake, and splicing that crap.
He's in the lab.
I was in the lab, hot splicing. Yeah. And so Mike goes, I'm going to take care of everything. I said, okay. So somebody'd have to be in the 9 o'clock meeting in the morning, which I didn't have to be, but I always had to be there for the 1:30 or 2 o'clock meeting. And I'd go in, and I'd go to him. I'd go, okay, what do you got? And I knew it wasn't going to last.
Yeah, he's like, I don't have time for all this shit.
You bring the ideas and stuff. I said, Mike, you're the sports director. If I bring the ideas and you start shooting
comes in with an attitude.
I'm going.
Day one.
It's not making any sense. Now, Gordon would have loved to have had the sports director job, but he wasn't very old. He was pretty new out of school, too, I think. Mm-hmm. He wasn't very old at that time. And Denny didn't want it. He didn't want any parts of it. So 3 months go by, and this ain't working. It just isn't working.
Right.
So I went up to Mike's office and I said, look, I know I'm new here, but I said, you've hired me to be your main sports guy. He said, I want to be the sports director. I said, then you have somebody hanging on if we screw it up. Okay? Instead of hanging on you. You're sitting here trying to juggle the news stories and doing all this other stuff. And then you got to sit down there and figure out what's going on in sports. I said, it's ridiculous. I said, I got a 3-year contract. 2.5 years from now, we'll talk. We'll see if it's working or not. But just let me do what I think I can do best with the guys I got back there. And he said, okay, it's yours. That's when you got that's when the other two guys are going, why didn't I go talk to them?
Yeah.
Right. But you went out and got it. Okay.
I went out and talked to him. I just said, if you want me to be your main anchor, this is the only way to do it. So he made me sports director 3 months in.
Okay. So pause right here and describe the sports landscape in Kansas City at that time. So this is 1981.
In 1981, right?
So clearly, this is
baseball's going to go on strike shortly.
But this is a Royals town. This is George Brett's the king of Kansas City.
George Brett's town.
You hit 390 in 1980. Right. The Royals were in the World Series. The Kansas City Kings are still here.
Mm-hmm. Kings are still here. I'll tell you that story too.
You got the Chiefs,
right?
And Tom Watson is huge.
And Tom Watson is in the height of his career.
So it's just
1 year later, he's going to win the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach.
So for a sports director at that time, what are the priorities? What's your list of what you cover? What the list of importance?
Well, we were the Royals station.
Okay.
So which was great. Okay, because I had all kinds of access to the Royals, and they were king.
And what did that mean? 30 games on the air?
Yeah, just about 30.
Like
it wasn't very many, right?
But it was something. And that's all there was on TV.
And then you got playoffs. You actually ended up getting some playoff games too.
No
I think
shit.
in that contract, game one of some of those series. Because remember, there was only how many teams were in the playoffs? Just two, right?
Yeah.
The American.
Well,
National.
in 80 there was the weird little division series.
Well, yeah, that was division
or 81.
81,
yes. Yeah. But so they were kings.
You could do Royals every day.
Oh. You had to do Royals every day then, right there. And then when the off season, anybody lived here, you had to go do more Royals.
Right.
And then, the whole thing
go to someone's house, sit down and talk.
Exactly, yeah. And, they were definitely king. But I'm here. I start on April Fool's Day, 1981, April 1st. 2 days later, I'm in Houston, Texas. We got the Kings against the Houston Rockets.
Oh, wow.
Del Harris. Cotton Fitzsimmons. Del Harris is the Houston coach, and Cotton Fitzsimmons is the Kings coach. I'm down there covering the Western Conference.
You don't know any of these fucking guys.
And then who were the stars of the Kings?
It was Grunfeld, Merriweather, Joe C. was here, Scotty Wedman was here.
Otis Birdsong yet?
No? I think Otis was the next year.
Maybe the next year, yeah.
So I'm down in Houston covering. I'm going, good Lord, this is great,
right,
man. It's the best thing ever. Quick story about going to Houston, right? So J.W. Edwards is with me, and we go and we did many a road trip together. He's with me, and we go down there, and you have a per diem. And I'm from Green Bay. I'm just down from Green Bay, and they hardly gave us anything. I mean, we're eating it,
They give you cheese curds for the road.
Cheese curds, right. So the deal is, we get down to Houston, and we're covering, and we get done covering our stuff. We get done with our I don't even know if we did a live shot. I didn't do a live shot. We just sent the packages back, and we're covering all the stuff. So we go, now we're looking for a place to eat. So we're driving around. Hey, JW, there's a McDonald's. He looked at me like I was from outer space. He said,
fuck, this ain't Green Bay.
Right.
McDonald's. He said, are you serious? And I said, yeah. You want to get something? He said, no. You're going to learn real quick. Here's how we do it. So we go into a seafood restaurant in Houston, Texas, of all places, right? And we're getting the oysters and the clams and lobster tail and the steaks, and I'm sweating because I'm going, who's paying for all this? Don't worry about it. He called the waiter over, and he goes, give us our check. And by the way, can you give me your
pad at the bottom?
Yeah, all the tags that nobody took from the bottom,
right?
that are blank.
Right.
Oh, he said, yeah, sure. So you just rip them off. They do it for all the businessmen and stuff. So you would just take these back, and of course you learn not to do it in sequence, okay? Because so you needed 5 trips from now. You didn't get out of sequence.
Damn.
So I learned really quick how to do per diems.
I learned this from him in 1993. He passed it down. How to
do per diems. You grab the checkbook that they bring. Remember the old paper checkbooks?
Sure.
They'd bring, and they'd rip off yours. And then, hey, can I have the rest? We'll give you a nice tip. Just give me the rest of that book. And they'd give you the book.
In Frank's right-hand drawer, he had a stack of those little fucking bottoms of receipts with a rubber band around them.
Oh, yeah.
Never any pushback. Just
never any pushback.
You never pushed it, though. You just did what you're supposed to do.
Just do what you're supposed to do. Spend your per diem, right up to your per diem, and then just go happily ever after. So I went, this is good. I like
this. Is better than fucking McDonald's.
So tell me a story about covering George Brett and the Royals from this era.
Well, George was king, not only in Kansas City, but he was king of baseball. for all practical purposes. Everybody loved George. That's why when he was elected to the Hall of Fame, he was the fourth leading vote getter of all time when he was put into the Hall of Fame at that time.
And you go in there, he's the reigning MVP. He just hit 390. This is it.
He's the man. I mean, it's just incredible.
Now, you've been like friendly with him. How long did it take to kind of break that ice and who the fuck's this guy? You know,
yeah, no, exactly. Well,
how long is that?
He asked.
Yeah, like how was he?
To me, he was. I'd be in. It wouldn't be a whole lot of one-on-one. It was a lot of like the scrums you see now. People, George would be there.
Good Frank is. He says scrums now.
Right.
Scrums. Say what they used to call those.
Scrums,
what did they used to call
gangbangs?
Thank you.
Okay, we're in the gangbang.
For the purposes of this podcast, could you please use that term?
Okay,
Thank
it was
you.
the gangbangs, and
Right.
everybody was around there. The microphone stuck in his face and the whole deal. So there were a lot of times when I first went out there, and this just didn't happen with George, but it was with Willie Wilson and Frank White and that whole crew of players that when I was done interviewing. I don't know, you probably haven't been around me a whole lot in interview situations, but the deal is when I get if somebody asks the question that I'm thinking about, I let it. I don't think it's important to try to think something up like you guys were talking about the other day on your show. What kind of steak would you be if you was one of those things? I never got any stuff. When I was done, I was done. If I didn't get my question answered, I'd wait and then I'd ask the question and I'd go. Or I'd get it in early and then I'd pull out of the scrum and I'd go get somebody else.
Pull out of the gangbang, you said.
I'm sorry,
Right.
pull out of the gangbang.
Thank you.
I'd stop gangbanging and I would go the other way, right? I'd go find somebody else to interview. And I'd always done that, and I don't know why. Nobody ever told me whatever. But the deal was there were a lot of times I'd be out there, and they'd be at batting practice or whatever, and everybody's always got their microphone, and they're waiting for and I'd let JW or Fritz or any of those guys go and get some nats on or whatever. And then the players would be waiting for their turn. They'd just be standing around, and I'd just walk up and just start talking to them.
Just talking.
I'd just talk. Hey, man,
Right.
how you doing? What's going on? I wouldn't have a microphone. They'd look at me, and they could say, oh, there's no microphone there. Yeah, how you doing? And I think George caught on pretty quick. And then if George catches on, and I actually wrote, when I retired from TV, I actually wrote George and Tom Watson, both, a note thanking both of them for accepting me in here in Kansas City, which really catapulted my career here.
You were a made man once those guys accepted you.
You were in. You
Right.
had their blessing. You had players on the team side. You had a whole roster full of players that would talk to you. They'd talk to you on the side when you didn't have your microphone, and they could leak you some stuff, that you would know. And for some reason, I had a pretty good filter to know what I could talk about and what I couldn't. And I think they respected that as well. So it was, George was the guy, but it took them a while. It's 1981, and they're going to start playing baseball, and then they're going to go on strike.
Right.
And then they're going to be gone for a while.
They fired Jim Fry, and that's when Dick Hauser gets hired too. All of that
stuff happened through there. And
right?
Dick Hauser
Your first 6 months was insane.
It was crazy. It was, and the Kings they got knocked off by
right, but they're in the
Rockets.
postseason.
But they're in the
all
postseason.
That stuff's great.
Yeah, and the Royals are coming off a World Series that they lost.
You haven't mentioned the Chiefs yet in this.
I have the Chiefs.
Well, they're going to go on strike the next year.
Yeah,
and have scabs.
Right. Well, yeah.
No, they didn't scab. They scabbed in '87.
Yeah.
'88. They just shortened the season.
But
Can you
the deal
imagine
was,
an 8-game
the head
NFL
coach
season?
of the Chiefs when I got here
Marv Levy?
was Marv Levy, right? And he was running the eye. Remember, but his teams were. they weren't bad.
They were
weren't
just kind of okay.
They were just sort of 500, and he was just getting his.
Joe Delaney was drafted in '81, so you got here at the same. I don't want to. At some point, I want to get to that.
Yeah, right.
But so George Brett was good to cover.
Right.
Can you give me someone who was not enjoyable to cover? And I don't care what team or what athlete. When you look back at that time when you got here, that maybe busted your balls, or you're like, fuck that guy.
You know what? I really can't remember anybody being a real shit.
Can you remember for him?
I was a kid in the 80s.
They were.
Well, when we get to something.
Oh yeah,
Right.
when we get to later.
Yeah,
Tell me this though.
I think some of the stuff's going to happen when Avron Fogelman gets on. They start talking about those contracts.
Right, but
that's when stuff started to go
Lifetime.
sideways.
And the reason I'm asking is because you're talking about how those two superstars, George Brett and Tom Watson, accepted you and made it easy for you. I was just wondering
Well, because
if there was anyone
they're very confident
right.
in themselves. Guys that are very confident in themselves, you can tell that they're not worried about
what
you.
anyone thinks. Yeah,
they're not worried about
they're-
what question.
Right.
They're just going to. answer your question, and they're just going to go for that because they're supremely confident individuals.
I think this is something when we started this radio station years ago that we thought wasn't actually covered enough because there wasn't time to do it, was college athletics. Where was college athletics here in 1981, 82? Did you guys go to Allen Fieldhouse?
Oh, that's a great question.
Did you go? I mean, Missouri was great. They were in the midst of winning 4 straight Big 12s, or Big 8s, and all that stuff. It didn't even really rank, though, right?
No, it didn't then because everything else was rolling so big. But we did go. We'd go for big games. Mm-hmm. We'd go for, if you're going on a weekend, you definitely get down there. Somebody get down there and try to cover that team. Donnie Proctor was always going. Of course, I don't forget when Donnie got there.
He came in a little later in the 80s. But you didn't go to Manhattan for a football game.
No.
I mean, because they were the dregs of the world.
And Kansas was awful in football as well. So.
It's just interesting how that has kind of evolved over the years. How they did, where did high school sports rank on television stuff?
Here's the best.
In the 80s.
Okay, so I get here. And the first summer camp for the Chiefs, we're up at William Jewell now. That hellhole. God, it was hot up there during the summer camps. They had them back over the backside of the stadium. There was no wind. No, it was, terrible. It was brutal. Okay, so I get up there the first time, and I'd met a few guys, but I hadn't, I met them at the ballpark and stuff. I'd met, Jack Harry and all those guys, and we get together and stuff. Well, I'm up there, and now we're getting towards football season. And I'm talking to Jack on the sideline. It's just Jack and I. We're just standing there talking, and he started asking me questions. How those stand-arounds are. Mm-hmm. You got all practice. So Jack and I were just talking, you married, you got kids, boom, what's the deal? How you doing today? And so he said, do you play golf? I said, yeah, good. We'll go out and play golf or whatever. We were rivals big time, but when we weren't doing TV, we were friends.
You got along.
And we weren't giving any secrets out to each other talking about. But here's the deal. So Jack, that first time I meet him, he remembers this too. He said, he started saying, boys, he said, you remember the time we met up at William Jewell? I said, yeah. He said, you remember what we're talking about? I said, yeah, high school football. He said, yeah, still hate you for that. Here's the deal. So I come from Green Bay.
Right.
And football's king.
Right.
Packers are king. And University of Wisconsin's king. And high school football is king up in Green Bay. And I'm from Western Pennsulvania, where high school is king.
Big deal.
Right?
Central fucking deal. Catholic state champs.
Right, baby. Come on. So deal is, I've already told Mike McDonald I'd plan laid out and everything else for Friday night high school football. And Jack goes, we don't cover high school football. This is big. That's pro sports stuff. He said, we don't get into that stuff.
We cover the pros.
We don't get into that stuff. I know you came down from Green Bay, but he said, we don't get into that stuff here. And I'm sure you won't get into that either.
He was basically telling you, don't fucking do this.
Don't do high school
fucking do this. Right?
Because he knows. And now I'll tell you what. So the deal is, I go, Mike, we're going to do high school football. We'll send maybe 1 or 2 cameras out, whatever. And then it morphs into huge stuff. So
prep cam.
We start doing it that first Friday. Next time I see Jack, I'm at a Chiefs game. He goes, "Some bitch, damn you! Told you not to do that. Now I got to do it every Friday night." He's yelling at me and stuff. That's a terrible Jack impression, by the way. But
I like it.
But the deal was, so now we start covering high school football, and I remember, I think I have to go back and look at this because it's just coming to my brain now. Tony Severino was the head coach at Shawnee Mission Northwest,
something like that,
at that time,
there, yeah.
And he ended up winning the state championship, I think, that year. This is before he goes to Rutgers,
right? Yeah,
and he wins the state championship. And the state championship game was played here in town. I think it was at Shawnee Mission North Field.
Wow.
At least that, or a playoff or whatever.
Something.
But that's where I met Tony. He's from Cleveland originally. I'm from Pittsburgh. We got along great the whole time I was here with Tony. It was great. But so we start covering high school football. So then Fortune's on. Normally on Friday nights, but Jack's out having to cover the high school game.
Right.
Ruined his fucking Friday.
So Jack's on the road.
Ruined his Friday night. So Fortune and I got together. I saw him at Chiefs game and something we were talking about. Yeah, those high school scores are really tough to get. In those days, they'd have to call into the station and leave the score. So Fortune goes, and he's tap dancing around it. And I said, yeah, I'll call you on Friday nights. I'll give you what I got if you give me what you got. And so Fortune lit up. He said, man, that's a great idea. It's only high school football. We're really not, it's not like a competition.
Right.
I said, right. So one night I call, guess who picks up the phone?
Fucking Jack.
Jack.
Right.
I go, Jack.
Hello.
He goes, what do you want, boys? I said, well, listen, Fortune and I, we usually swap scores. He goes, what? You do what? Swap scores. I ain't swapping those scores. Click. Jack hung up on me.
Jack said, fuck you.
He said, no way. We're swapping scores, man. There's
my
no way.
God.
It was great. He never forgave me for the high school football.
See, now
thing.
I've worked
crazy.
with this guy this time. I never heard that story.
I love that
That's
story.
why we're doing this shit.
Yeah. That was,
So now
that was
all the Friday night football coverage for high school football.
We started it. We started.
Frank Bull
Yes,
gave
absolutely.
birth to that.
Yeah.
So everyone out there covering football, blame Frank.
Right.
Well,
It's great
actually,
though.
it's
It's so
been
much
terrific.
easier now because the scores are just everywhere.
Well, you
I remember
get all
when
the
we
video.
started doing it. Now, like when I worked down there, and when we started the prep camp thing was awesome. That's where high school kids would come in, and we would have them on the phones, and the photographers would always give a business card to like usually the chain gang because the chain gang couldn't leave. They had to be there at the end of the game.
Here's the other thing.
So they would call in and they would give us the score of the game.
And you always didn't want to give it to the home field AD because if their team lost, he ain't calling you.
That's right.
You know, he could call you on the
Lost.
phone.
Yeah,
you
give
could
the chain
almost
gang.
guess.
Go
you know?
unaffiliated.
So somebody from Blue Springs doesn't call you. Go, they got beat.
Sounds like they lost.
Okay, so and this might be difficult for you to answer. You could pick an era or just for the entire time. If somebody were to ask you, what were the 2 or 3 most memorable stories that you covered that will never leave you? That if you were going to write a book or if you're just going to tell people this is a representation of my career or something that I will never forget, something that will stick with me. Maybe give me a couple of those stories that still stick with you, that just stand out. Because I think, like as a Kansas City sports fan, I think of like when Joe Delaney died.
Well, here,
Right.
okay, don't go any further.
Okay.
So the deal is, I'm here, and I still don't. Yeah, I don't know what people are thinking about me out there. I'm just working. I'm in the golden era of Kansas City professional sports and sports coverage for all practical purposes. We have everything. Mm-hmm. The only thing we don't have, the NHL team had left.
Right.
Okay, but the only thing we don't have is the NHL. We've got everybody else here, and then slowly, there go the Kings, and the Chiefs get better, the Royals get worse. One of those things. But right now, it's like Royals are coming off a world championship. Tom Watson's the height of his career. The Kings are in the playoffs and all that sort of stuff. But the deal was, I think when I really, 2 things, both tragic for me and were really, really difficult to cover, is I'm at the station. I'm at Channel 4. It's night side. I never really left and went anywhere for dinner. I just stayed there. I'd eat what I did. I'm not trying to say I just worked 24 hours. I'm just saying I just never really left the station, whatever. And the front desk calls me and says, "Hey, Frank, you got a call from Louisiana." And I said, "Oh, okay." So I they put it back to my desk, and I pick up the phone, and the guy says, "Hey, this is sheriff from the parish in Louisiana, and I got some bad news." And I said, "Well, Joe Delaney?" I said, "Yeah." And I'm thinking, well, you got hurt. What happened to Joe Delaney? He said, he's dead. He died. He drowned. I went, and I'm going, what? So I had to get the number. You have to double check this sort of thing. So I got the parish guy's number, and I'm scrambling. I go up to the newsroom. I said, "Look, here's the deal. I haven't confirmed it yet, but I'm going to here in 1 second. Joe Delaney died." I said, I need video. We need to lead we need to get on the air. We need to do something.
He was AFC Rookie of the Year. He had made the Pro Bowl. He was drafted in 81.
Right. He this is 82. This is 82. Summer of 82. Right.
Right. No, he passed away June 29th, 1983. 24 years old.
Okay, so I've been here for 2 years. Okay, so this sheriff calls me, and he didn't call anybody else.
How did that?
I don't know why. I have no idea why he called me.
So
and I'm not thinking he's not calling anybody else. I didn't say don't call anybody. I would never do that.
Yeah. You were the first person. We
had on the air before anybody else even had the deal. So he called. So I called back, and they pick up Sheriff's Department, so-and-so county. I said, "Let me talk to, Sheriff so-and-so." He said, "Sure," boom. And so I talked to him. I said, "Listen, he said, "I understand." He said, "I understand. I said, no problem at all. This happens to us all the time." And I said, "Okay, so what happened?" He said, "Well, he was at a big event, and there was like a home. You build a foundation. There was a home. They were building a foundation for something, either a house or a pavilion that they were going to use in this area where they had all these people. And rains like hell down there, as you know, and it was full of water. And these kids go in, fall in, they're screwing around, fall in, jump in, whatever. And they can't get out. And Joe Delaney hears them. He runs in, jumps in, gets one kid back to the shore. The other kid died, right? And then Joe also died. He drowned there because Joe did not know how to swim. He did not know how to swim, which we find out later that he had never learned. So he just went in there, tried to save these kids' lives. And so that was...
So what did you do with the Chiefs at that point? You called the Chiefs?
Yeah,
did they know?
No, they did not know.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I called Jack Stedman on the phone, and of course Jim Schaaf was there as well. That's Stedman and Schaaf, and that was part of the problem.
And you had to deliver the news to the Chiefs organization.
I'll tell you another story coming up here too, where I delivered some bad news as well. But delivered that news to the Chiefs organization at that time that Joe Delaney died.
Did you guys go to Louisiana then?
Yeah, I went. I can remember. I went, and I can remember sitting next to Kent Pulliam from the newspaper. We sat there, and they were in a little high school gym, no air conditioning. And, I mean, people are passing out left and right, and women and young, his wife and everybody.
He was the hero.
They were wailing and passing out in the aisles. I'd never seen anything like the grief that was inside that tiny gymnasium down in Louisiana. It was hard. I'm crying.
And I do have a memory, because I would have been 10 years old. I remember we're watching the news, and I don't know if it was, but I remember how it was going to a commercial break, and it was Kansas City loses a sports legend, or something to that effect, and it went to commercial break, and then I remember my mom was on the couch. She goes, "George Brett," and she puts her hand, but it goes to commercial, right?
Right. Yeah.
We come back.
That's a tease,
right? But then
terrible thing to tease.
Right. But I remember how it was. But I'll never forget. It was like those 3 minutes were forever because we're thinking, even my dad was,
Why didn't you just check Twitter?
But you're always, but you're conditioned to think at that point because it was a Royals town, Royals legend, and so then when they came back. And I remember it was Joe, and how shocking it was because, like you said, the Chiefs weren't the biggest team in town, but he
was the star.
He was the star.
Well, he looked like he'd be bringing him back. He was Rookie of the Year.
Right.
Hell of an offensive player. They ran the ball all the time then.
Do you remember? Did you break into programming? How did you deliver the news?
I think we broke into programming almost right away. Which was a foreboding. We had to call Mike McDonald, and he had to give us permission.
Yeah,
you know, it wasn't just something you could go and do. Where now they break into programming all the time, and just when something big happens.
So what was the other story?
So the other story was, it's January. We're in the playoffs now. We're in the NFL playoffs. You know what's coming.
Absolutely.
So Derek Thomas, a couple of his friends, are trying to make a plane flight. Remember, Derek was notoriously late for everything he ever did. There's a slick coating of just real thin ice on the road, and he had the accident. Well, I'm sitting down at Channel 4, and I get a phone call to my desk, and I pick up the phone, and I wish I could remember the guy's name. Guy calls me and said, "Hey, Frank," he said, "my name is so-and-so. My wife is an emergency room nurse in North Kansas City. I was just waiting for her to get off work, and they just wheeled Derek Thomas past me in the hallway." I went, "What?" He said, "There's been an automobile accident, and he's hurt. Badly." He said, "They're wheeling him into the emergency room now. In fact, my wife, I was waiting for my wife, and she's not getting off work. As we speak, she's going to be in this situation." So again, I'm going to call the hospital. They're not going to tell me anything. And so I'm thinking, man, he really sounds legit. I said, "Anyway, I talked to your wife and he went, "Yeah, let me see if I can, whatever." So he grabbed, she comes on and she goes, "Frank, this is so-and-so. I'm RN at an emergency room nurse at North Kansas City Hospital." And she said, "It's Derek Thomas." I said, and he said, "I have no idea what is wrong with him. He's still alive."
This was a Sunday, correct?
It's a Sunday.
Yeah.
And this is when we were doing Kansas City Sports Machine, I think. Or we were doing the Sunday nights anyway.
Right.
So
this was mid-morning.
Were they going to the game in
They were
St. Louis?
trying to catch a flight to go watch the Rams and Tampa.
Yeah.
So I called Carl Peterson on the phone. I said, "Carl, it's Frank Bowl." I said, "Have you heard And he goes, no, what's wrong? I said, Derek Thomas been in an automobile accident. And he's at North Kansas City Hospital. He's in the emergency room. And he went, you sure? I said, yeah, Carl, I'm sure. I talked to husband was waiting. I told him the story about, and the wife was there. She's an RN, said it was him. He went, okay, Frank, thanks. And just.
It's pretty amazing. And I think we've all gone through this with what we do here. You have thousands of producers working for you.
Yes.
Because it's funny that people will just call and want to tell you something. You've gotten phone calls, emails, texts.
Yeah.
Same thing for all this stuff. And I don't know why they do, but there's something about, I think there's something about the fact that, this guy had probably watched you for years and trusted you.
Yeah.
I don't know why you got the call from Louisiana. Maybe I don't know
either.
Who knows how that
You know what?
happened.
I still have no idea.
And you were the one, and I remember you, in my career that only started in '98. You were part of one of the most memorable days, most horrible days I ever spent on the air. I was on the air with Whitlock, and we were at our old facility in Independence.
Oh yeah,
and then we
9/11.
We didn't have the monitors on or something or whatever. Not everything worked.
Yeah, there was kind of a TV.
And so we were in studio, and then you fling the door open, and so we remember what time of day it was because you were going to be on
next. We were going on 9 o'clock.
Right. So this was in the 8 o'clock hour. Whenever you fling the door open, and said, "Hey, you better turn the news on," and what happened? He said a plane crashed into the World Trade Center. And we're like, what? And then I remember someone said, yeah, they think it was a cargo plane or something like that.
Yeah, no, they thought it was one of the sightseeing
or whatever.
planes.
Yeah, and then we turn everything on, and then the world changes there. But I'll never forget that you came in there, flung the door open. I thought you were pissed off about something that we had said. Or you flung the door, turn the TV on right now. And then I remember I had already been scheduled to leave early, and I was going down to the Channel 9 studios because I was going to be a guest on, remember Joel Nichols did a show called Afterwards, and it would play late at night, and it was just like a sit-down, one-on-one interview, and I was going to be on that show. No.
You had to go do it?
I went, and I remember driving down there, and I was scared to death because no one knew what was going on.
It didn't seem like you.
But then I go into the TV studio, and then you're seeing...
all of it.
Yeah, the stuff, but we go in and we do like a 45-minute interview while this is going on because we didn't know what we didn't know. And y'all never, and you were, that's one of the most horrific days ever that I've had in my career. But I remember you were the one that really came and told us first.
Let me, we've talked a little bit about, Gigi was born out in California.
Yeah.
So you come here, and so the rest of your kids were born here. What was it like?
They're all St. Luke's Hospital.
So, listen, this is just me talking, and this has been a big effect on my life from what Frank has done and what Frank did for us. You mentioned you didn't go out to dinner or anything like that. But when you do this business, the TV business especially, someone is there now till 11 because they do an extra fucking half an hour of news every night.
Yeah, they do.
Sorry to you people down there doing that. I'm asleep. But, so what Frank always did for all of us, when I worked there with Al and Kevin and Frank, it's fucking Wednesday night. We got the shit pretty much put to bed. He's got to cut some Royals highlights. Go home. Be with your fucking family. Do whatever. Because the phone would ring a lot, and Frank would answer the phone. Sports is Frank. What? Because there was always some shit going on.
You were already pissed.
Because he had, at that point, there's 5 kids at home, and there's something going on, all that stuff. And I know, you work really hard because you got to go watch Garrett play football games. We worked it to where you started all this Friday night shit, then you were off on Friday night.
Yeah, I was off on Friday
smart.
Night. I was doing Sunday through Thursday.
Yeah, you planted that seed and you let it grow.
And get up there, Blue Valley High.
But it was hard to try to be a husband and father when you're working all that time. Yeah. And he tried to make sure that and now listen, I missed some stuff, and I got out of the business before my son was born because I watched him not get to go to football practice or dance recital or something like that. And he was always told all of us, I'll fucking do this shit. And now we were there. I mean, we weren't going home at 4:30.
Because I'm the one that has to be on the air at 10 anyway, so why are you guys still here?
But you always tried really hard. Do you have... any regrets the fact that you missed stuff? Was it hard, or I mean, how did you get through all that?
Yeah, I do have regrets. I missed some stuff. I did try to sometimes, when Rinkenbaugh was there.
Yeah.
As John Rinkenbaugh, I loved John. He was just great. He was a guy. I'd go out and do a live shot at 6 or 5 and 6 at the Royals. This is the kind of guy John was. And he's the producer for the whole newscast. And he's editing and doing all kinds of stuff for the whole newscast, news stuff. And I'd go out there at 5 and 6 and I'd go, hey, John, he goes, no, just stay. Just stay out there. Don't worry about it. See if it ends, get some post game. If not, get on the dugout, do a live shot, do the whole thing. And I'll send you what else I have. And you can, and I'm scribbling on a piece of, paper like this, okay? I got a legal pad. So at 9:30, called John back. I said, I'd call him during the game, say, hey, get that. There's a big play. George hit a home run, or George made a great play at third, or Willie Wilson ran one down in left center or whatever. Put these on in this order. And John always knew it was a 10-second deal. I knew 10 seconds. I knew when the change, you could hear the sound change from the, and then go, and then build back up again. Highlight. You knew you're on your next highlight. John knew me really well. So he would do all that. He would send me out there and just leave me out there and just say, rolls are big and we got to keep doing this. I said, okay, fine. So I would do that. But that was great. But what John would do sometimes for me too, I'd go back and say, hey, my kid's got a track meet, or my kid's got my girl's got a recital. Can I be gone for an hour? I'm going to be gone. I'm going to leave after the 6. I'll be back by 8. And I just want to go out and say, I might not see the whole thing, but I tried to see most of the stuff. And I got to see the Friday night stuff, both Garrett and Grant play high school football. I got to see the girls do a lot of their stuff, but I did miss a lot. My deal was I picked my job.
Right.
Okay. And I knew if you're going to do this job, there are certain sacrifices in any job almost that you would pick to do. Okay. These are my sacrifices. Like, you don't go home right after work, Stephen. You go, now I'll be 11 to 1 at such and such place, and not 5 to 7 I'll be at another such and such place for the advertisers and doing all the remotes and all that stuff. You don't, but
you just find a way to work it out.
But you just find a way to work it out. And Jan, God bless her, she was a wonderful mom to those kids. She's still nannying the grandkids. She still takes care of all my kids' grandkids.
Pop's there too.
Yeah, Pop does. Yeah, but not like she does. So. She's been very.
But I've told you this before, and I'll say it right here for historical record. I appreciate the fact that you did that for us, and that actually gave me the clarity to be like, I don't know if this is for me to do that. And then, so I had a real job for like a year and a half, and then I got sucked back into this.
You remember where you got that job?
Because of him.
What did you do?
I worked at an association management firm. That was a truck parts. It was an association management firm. And this, I'll tell this quickly.
What did you do?
I sat and played solitaire at a computer most of the day for about 50% more money than I made at Channel 4. But what happened
TV business pays really well.
No, so this is true, and I was telling an intern this the other day. The world is about who you know and what you do. So I was out trying to get a real job. My wife was pregnant. It was great. I was going home at 7:30 or 8, but I worked till Friday nights till 10:30, Saturday nights till 10:30, Sunday nights. So I was missing what I hadn't missed stuff yet.
You're missing weekends.
I was going to miss things with my kids, right? So I'm trying to get a job. I'm applying for these jobs. This is before you could do it. There was no internet. And you would just send letters out. And this one fucking day, I didn't want to say I was looking for a job. So I'm changing out of my sports producer clothes in the fucking parking lot in my Ford Probe, sweating my nuts off, putting a fucking suit on to go have this job interview.
This fucking guy's putting a suit on in a Ford Probe, Kansas City. This is how bad he wanted out of TV.
It was a PR job at St. Luke's. So I go down there and I have the interview, and then I got to come back, and I fucking change the clothes again. It's July or something.
You leave the air conditioner on at least?
No, it was so I changed my clothes. I come back in and I told Frank, I said, dude, here's the deal, man. I got to be honest with you. I'm looking for a regular job. He goes, fuck, man, I understand it, man. I totally understand. Anything I can do to help you, whatever, fine. Literally like 2 days later, it's a Friday. He's off. And he plays in a golf tournament.
On Monday.
And
charity golf tournament on Monday.
He calls me and he says, write this number down. 816 421, whatever it is. Call this guy. His name's Bud. He's got this company. They're looking for someone to work there. I call this number. I go have a job interview. I had a job within like 3 days.
That's
because
right.
I just had to tell fucking Frank Bowl I wanted to get
Don't
a job.
be hiding
I'm
stuff.
sitting there hiding around, sweating like a whore in church.
Naked in a fucking Ford Probe. Now, have you thought about getting a Ford Probe again? Because I'd like to see you driving one of those automobiles.
God, it was hard to do. But so,
Here's-
but he appreciated the work I'd done for them, and then he helped me get a job. So then and then I got sucked back in because the job I have had here has been much more normal. I'm generally home 6:30, 7. Nowadays, less than that. I mean, you work weekends, you do some stuff, but I couldn't
do a lot of shit.
I couldn't do the TV thing. It wasn't going to work for me.
Right. So let me make this.
But the deal was, real quick, the way I learned that was with Gordon Docking.
Right.
Gordon Docking was the guy. He wanted my job.
I love Gordon.
He wasn't, but he wasn't going to, it didn't look like he was going to get it. Okay. So he started trying to get out at, like 6 or whatever and wanting not to go do that live show. And I could feel something was going on. I said, what's going on? He said, I'm going to night school for my MBA.
Right.
And I'm trying to do that. I said, why don't you say something? Don't worry, I'll go do a live show. Just go to your night school and go do it. And Gordon ended up, look how successful he was. He put the St. Joe Medical Center together, the medical mall. Did the same thing in Blue Springs. He did both of them.
Gordon Docking's the man.
And and his son Blake, of course, and he's so big and Down syndrome, all the Down syndrome.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I've had a chance to connect with him over the years.
Right, exactly.
Tremendous
and
family.
he ended up being
But it's
tremendous
so funny because
success.
it's a communications business, and sometimes we're not communicating.
We don't communicate.
You just got to do it.
And so since we're making this,
that's what I learned.
We've tried to be that way here. I've always tried to be that way for everyone here.
This is the Let's Kiss Frank's Ass segment of the podcast, and so let me get to it. No, honestly, and so and that is one of the greatest things I can say about working at Union Broadcasting is because I've been allowed, because when I started here, Richie was just a little boy, right? And I've been allowed to have my family around me all the time. But like early on, like not everyone's on board with that, and there's eye rolls sometimes, and people get irritated by that. But early on, and I remember you used to tell me that too. And you would say, that you liked that or you respected that I'd bring Richie with me to a remote or I had my kids with me, and you'd always say something. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, kid. Don't fucking don't forget that. Yeah. And I remember, I don't know what it was, and there was we were at your house for something.
It's probably one of the Christmas
event, or whatever it was. And then you had this picture. You had these pictures on the wall of your family and your kids, right, and everything. And I've gotten to know your kids over the years. Oh yeah, right.
Half of them have worked here.
But one of the things I've always admired about you was your relationship with your kids and how close you are, and you can see how much they love you and how much you love them, and how you just come off as the cool dad. And it's just and I wanted to be that, and I would think. That's how I want to be as my kids grow up, and I want them to look at me and respect me and treat me like they treat Frank and Frank treats them. And so and maybe you don't know that you've made an impact on me, the type of father you've been.
Well, you've been a wonderful father with your kids, both of you have, but that is the important thing. And I do have some guilt. So I'm Catholic, of course, and I do have some guilt.
Let's confess right after this, Frank.
Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. Whoa. Go back to Pittsburgh. Okay, we're starting in Pittsburgh.
How long since your last confession?
Oh, Pittsburgh.
I'm out of this fucking deal, by the way. Yeah, we went to Ash Wednesday the other night. And I go to communion, and I think Julie goes,
church.
Don't you supposed to? I go, you want me here? Yeah. Go ahead.
Father,
ahead,
give me general absence.
Right.
Okay, just a couple other stories here, real quick, because I know we talked about those bummer stories about Joe Delaney and Derek Thomas, of course.
The Royals won the World Series. How about that?
I will try. Yeah, that was fun. Jack, Harry, and I were in the elevator, by the way, when they scored the winning run on the way down.
On Game 6?
Jack and
Missed it.
Yes, and we were also in the elevator. Remember when the Chiefs beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh? Bradshaw was still playing, and the special teams went crazy.
Yeah, in 86.
Just before they fired McAfee.
That's when they made the playoffs under McAfee.
Yeah.
You missed that.
Albert Lewis.
Wait a minute. I'll tell you that. Hang on a second.
Oh, shit.
That's the other one. Okay, so
block and punch.
So we're on our way down that elevator as well when they block the last one and go in for the touchdown and score. So Jack and I spent a lot of of times in elevators.
For people that don't understand, you have to leave the press box
8
early.
minutes early.
Okay.
Oh, the World
Get
Series
wherever
even
the
worse.
Yeah, it was
You're
terrible.
fucking in the tunnel.
You had to
for
get
the
down there. But the deal was, so just a couple of funny stories. So Marty and Carl come to Kansas City. So we have our late night show, and we're going to do a special. They come in. Here comes Carl, Marty. They're the new kings in town. And I mean, Chiefs fans are off the wall. This is the greatest thing ever. Got a legitimate head coach. We got a legitimate GM, at least they thought he was, coming from, well, he came from Philadelphia.
He's legitimate.
No, USFL.
Yeah, he was USFL, then he was out of the biz for a
Right,
second.
he was out a little bit,
Right.
and then he came back, but there was just something about, you could tell.
Before I forget, were you at Nick Lowry's house when Frank Gans got fired?
No, I was not.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
I actually liked.
Were you ever at Nick Lowry's house?
No,
Let me ask you that. Okay,
never.
when John Malkovich got fired.
When John Malkovich, yeah, I actually liked John.
That made Ben laugh,
He was
by
great.
the way. So.
Okay, so the deal is, Carl, Marty come, and we're in the studio, and we do our deal. Well, right after we have both Carl and Marty on, we interview them both, I think, individually. Talk to Carl about what you're going to do, and then Marty going, hey, yeah, we're going to kick it. We're going to get the playoffs. We're going to make it. We almost made it in Cleveland. Didn't. So they get up to leave. The next guest we're going to have on after the break is Donovan, the guy from Cleveland, Ohio, Jim Donovan, who ended up doing play-by-play stuff on the network for the NFL, right? So he's going to be our next guest. And I tease it as they're walking away. And then Carl grabs Marty by the arm and says, let's watch this, right?
Okay.
And I'm going, oh, shit. We got a guy coming on from Cleveland. Okay. So Donovan comes on. And he was great. He said, hey, you love Marty, good coach, whatever.
He's on a satellite hookup here, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Players, got a little bit upset because he really worked really hard during the postseason.
Right.
And that's, we got unlucky in one game, and then we got unlucky in another game, and we lost. And I go, well, bottom line for Marty, what do you think? They're standing there. I go, he's going to win just enough to break your heart.
Oh, boy.
Shit.
And they both turned and walked out the door.
How fucking prophetic was that?
I just went, whoa, win just enough to break your heart.
That's wild.
It was
Is
really
that
wild.
not the perfect way to
was just
describe the
unbelievable.
Marty years?
Okay, yeah, that was just crazy. Okay, the Albert Lewis story. Okay, they're playing the Jets in the playoffs. Albert intercepted the ball and ran back for a touchdown, right? They get beat by the Jets. Meanwhile, this is Malkovich. He's got him in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And asked Nick Lowry is going to, and just because Frank Gans, you have some special teams plays, and you think this guy drill the gunners when he wasn't even a pilot.
No, that came out later.
That came out. I mean, you're just going, who?
So they literally had a mutiny meeting.
They had, yeah, but this is about Albert Lewis. This is post game, so we're going to do post game. So before the game, NBC comes to me and goes, "Listen, here's the deal. Whatever team wins the game, what's his name's going to be in the locker room?
Marv Albert?
No.
Dockery?
No. Dog.
Doesn't matter. Some guy.
Okay. No, big guy. Does the huge NBC. Little guy, short guy.
Bob Costas.
Bob Costas. So I can remember Bob Costas.
But you're saying huge, little short guy.
Little short guy.
Like every broadcaster's short. So I'm like, who are they?
Huge name,
John
little
Shambi.
St. Louis guy.
John Shambi.
It's the
Bob
best
Costas.
description of Bob Costas I've ever heard.
I'm almost 100 years old. Okay, leave me a break. So it's Bob, the little guy.
Yes.
Bob. He says the team that wins, Bob Costas will be in their locker room.
You get the losers.
The loser will be the sports director from that particular station. So the Jets win. So Costas is going to be near the locker room. So he goes on first. And so I asked Albert, I said, hey, Albert, listen, come on, can you be my guest for the sit? Sure, no problem at all.
Fuck you.
So no. Albert and I
35 to whatever.
We had a great relationship too. So Costas is yinging and yanging and yakking over in the Jets locker room, does his thing. So they go 30 seconds. Albert leans down to me, okay, and he goes, hey, man, I'm sorry. And I'm thinking he's gonna walk off. He's gonna walk off and leave me here on national TV. He goes, I'm sorry. I said, my eyes get this big.
Right.
I go, what? He goes, I'm gonna make you look so short on national television. And that broke the ice.
Right.
He could probably tell my heart was here.
Yeah.
My heart.
Oh, shit.
My heart is going 1,000 miles
awesome.
a minute.
Give me the phone book.
It was great. He said, Costas got to sit down. I got to stand up at Albert. Okay, what the hell's the deal here? Yeah, little short guy. And then Two other things, real quick.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Okay, here's
give
the
me some
deal.
more.
I don't know how much time you got.
You're good.
no
right?
fucking limit to the internet.
Good.
Third.
Don't tell us you're not doing something.
So now we go in 1983.
Okay.
Mike McDonald, the U.S. Open championship was in Oakmont in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh.
My old hometown, right? Pittsburgh. So we go. He sends us out there. Tom Watson, of course, the defending champ, had won in Pebble Beach. Just won Pebble the year before, chipped it in on 17. One of the most top 5 greatest shots ever. So we go, and this is just from an overall thing. First time I'd ever been inside the ropes at a pro tournament. Had
At Arnie's place.
No.
This is not Arnie's place?
He's from Latrobe.
Okay, but
he was Latrobe country. He's from Pittsburgh.
Right,
he's from Western
Pittsburgh,
Pennsylvania. Yeah. So we're inside the ropes and we're covering him this day. And the Tommy, I can't tell you how accommodating he was. It was unbelievable for 4 days. Then they get Sunday. They're all within about 3 holes of finishing, and a thunderstorm comes ripping through there that just wiped everything out for the time. They just boom. So we go into the tent, the interview tent afterwards. Tommy must have spent 45, 50 minutes with the media inside that tent, just talking. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, the guys, after a while, everybody put their cameras down. Everybody stopped writing. He just started telling stories.
He's just holding court.
And I mean, he was in no hurry. He said, I'm not going anywhere. I said, you can still hear the thunder and lightning and the rain pond and everything. He said, I'm not going anywhere. I said, just sit there with you guys.
That's awesome.
Let's talk. And it was unbelievable. And then all of his Children's Mercy Hospital golf classics.
Right, those were always fun.
Okay. Oh, I almost forgot. Now that's going to add a story.
That's fine.
Okay, so
let's go.
But Tommy was so accommodating, so good to me. He was just, like I said, I wrote both he and George Brett a letter when I was retired and said thanks.
Which time you retired? The first, second, third time?
Whatever. I still have one more. I have one more to go.
No, you're never getting out of here.
I got to retire.
No.
So
CBD American Shaman says no.
No,
All
okay,
right, thank you.
So what story was I going to tell? Oh, yeah. What story was I going to tell?
Tom Watson.
Yeah, right.
Latrobe.
All the Children's Mercy
Children's
Hospital.
Mercy.
So I told you when I got here, okay, back in 1981, that they had Channel 4, not telling me a thing about it, had stood up Tommy for an interview, whatever the circumstances were. Tommy's people thought it was us, and we blamed, for some ungodly reason, Tommy's people. Okay, so
they saw it as a
miscommunication.
You don't want to be on the wrong side.
Not when he's. I mean, not Tom Watson. Come on. So deal was. So I go out to the first Children's Mercy Hospital golf class. I think I covered every one but the first one. So this is the second one. It's just before the U.S. Open, right? And so he does, or right after one of the other. It was just before. So he has all the guys out. He's had every great golfer except for Tiger Woods, who wanted some ungodly appearance fee that they're doing something for charity. And
fucking
Tom,
Tiger Woods catching strays from Frank Bowl.
And Tom I like Tiger Woods, but I loved him as a golfer. I just thought he was incredible. But the deal was, Tom's giving this Children's Mercy Hospital golf classic, and then I'll come to you, Jack. If you got a deal, Arnie, you got a deal. Lee Trevino, Gary Player, Annika Sorenstam. I mean, every great golfer. Phil Mickelson came through here. That's another story. I'm not going to get into that one. But the deal was, so I go out there the first time. And so I show up, and I'm thinking, what do I need here? I'm trying to nobody will contact me from Watson's deal. So I'm going, what the hell's going on? So I just show up with my photographer. We go out there, and Channel 5 was holding court. And Jack's holding court with these guys because they give him a check at the end for the charity, right? So Jack's got this thing. Now, he has known Tom longer than me, obviously. So Jack has this thing down pretty pat what he's going to do. And
you already fucked Jack with his high school football.
On the noon show, right? He's getting back at me now. So on the noon show, he's got Tommy and whoever his golfing partners are.
Right.
And then they do a big round table, and it's a big to-do, right? I mean, that's awesome. I thought that's great. So the deal is, I go out to the pro and I say, hey, listen, from Channel 4, and he's looking at me like,
who are we talking to here?
Yeah, right. It was exactly who are you? It was a Carl Pearson going, what?
Yeah. Who is
I said, yeah, and my photographer was with me. I think it was Fritz. And so I go, we want to cover the deal. And he goes, and you had to contact us months ago. I mean, I don't know. And I said, let me check. So he goes and gets Chuck Rubin, right? So we're in the pro shop, and there's lots of people mingling around, right? And so Ruben walks in, he sees me, and he sees my photog. He really doesn't know me,
right?
Because he hasn't really watched much. I haven't been there very long.
Well, he's mad at Channel 4.
And he's mad at Channel 4. And he sees the mic
He watches
logo.
Jack Harry.
The deal. Oh, of course he does. So the deal is, he looks around, sees a lot of people there. He says, can you come here for me? Yeah, for a second. I said, sure. So we go outside. Chuck was a great guy. All right, he's a good guy. But he pulls me outside, and he said, I hear you want to cover this tournament. And I said, yeah, of course. I said, yes, absolutely. He goes, that might be a problem today. Oh, shit. And I said, what's the problem? He said, well, you don't know? I said, I don't know anything.
I'm here from Green Bay.
I have no idea.
Know.
So now all of a sudden he softens a little bit. He said, you don't know about your station, Stacey. I replaced that guy. He's gone. And so I made it sound like he got fired for staying up Tom Watson, which he didn't.
Right.
Okay, but I sort of make it fired. Yeah, he's
playing the game.
Yeah, I guess he was doing stuff like that. And he's going, I'm
in.
tap dancing. I'm going, I'll tell him anything he wants to hear. This is Tom Watson, right? So Chuck finally relents. He goes, I'll give you some passes. He said, but we won't let you inside the ropes. Okay, where everybody else, you'll have to mingle in with the crowd. And the deal is, you have to mingle in with the crowd and just catch as catch can.
Right.
So we're out there. I mean, we got a dolly pulling our recorder. In those days, remember they had
the big tape deck.
They had the big tape deck. I'm pulling a tape deck. I got a microphone. I'm doing this from 400 yards away.
You're humping along.
I'm going. And so we do I think we did the front 9, and then picked them up.
That's a lot of walking
we
around
picked them up
thing.
on 17 and brought them home. This is the first time. I forget who the golfers were at that point, but we do all that. And then on the 18th green, the golfers, they spread the golfers around to 3 stations, and you get the guys, and they all
bit of a
come
gangbang, eh?
So Tom comes last to Channel 4, right? He comes over to me, and I'd not met him yet, right? So I go, hey, Tom, I'm Frank Bowl. I'm the news sports guy at Channel 4. And he goes, well, that's good news. And then he goes, what do you want? No, I don't know. How was the day? And all that stuff. I went, whoa. I went, geez, what was the deal? I went back. I was hot.
Right.
I was really pissed off.
Who sent me out there?
I went to McDonald's.
And they didn't tell you about it.
You ambushed me with the deal. So, I thought you knew. And I said, come on. I said that just ain't right. That just wasn't right. So,
but you fixed it all up with Tom.
You got it done.
Fixed it up, Tom, and everything was great.
Great after that. So many things.
It was
over
absolutely
years.
terrific.
I went to that event one time with my grandpa because my grandpa Danny Ontiveros, because he loved Lee Trevino. He had the book Super Mex, and he took it out there to get it autographed, right? But there were so many people there that wasn't happening. And so, long story short, I got hit by a drive in the shin by Lee Trevino, and I was
bruised was better than anything else.
But I'm getting tears in my hair. And my grandpa said, "Don't cry, Mijo, don't cry." But then Lee Trevino starts walking over.
Yeah, he knows it
to see, and they're all hit him, and I'm just, I'm a little boy, and he comes over. He goes, let me see that golf ball, and he signs it. And he gives it to me, right? And I'm happy or whatever. And he goes, you okay? You okay, son, or whatever. And as it goes on, my grandpa takes the fucking golf ball from me, puts it in his pocket. I go, Grandpa, that's mine. He goes, you don't need that. I go,
you don't know who Lee Trevino is?
What the fuck? And so that's my, I gave blood and bruise for my grandfather.
You did a good thing
for
him.
You.
Okay.
That's right.
For them.
George Brett's story.
Yes.
A little bit more levity here, okay? So we're at his Hall of Fame induction. And the week before, I'd called him on the phone. I said, hey, listen, you're getting inducted. We're driving our live truck out there. Everybody was. Yeah. But, we're driving our live truck out there. The night of your induction, after your induction, whatever, can we do a live shot from wherever you're staying in wherever.
Cooperstown.
And that's a pretty big ask.
Right. No, there's a big ask because you're thinking, after he gets inducted and stuff, he's going to go out and have a couple brews, have a little wine, Okay, so deal was, so we're out there for his induction. Big rainstorm came through that day. Right after basically it was over, his speech was terrific or whatever, And so we get set. We do our early live shots. Then we go. I think Tommy C. Fuentes was out. Who was driving the truck?
I was out of the biz by then. I was over here.
I forget. Right. So deal was, we go to where he's staying. Well, he's staying in somebody's house that's on top of a hill, which for the satellite guys,
that's great.
Bonus. Problem is, it's just there's a canopy of trees that go over the driveway. You can drive your car or regular.
But the satellite
we have a
truck,
satellite truck, okay, with the giant dish on top.
Oh, shit.
So here they come. So I go up there after I get done, and I'm in George and Leslie, and virtually everybody is at the dinner. There's hardly anybody there. And so here comes the live truck up the driveway, and all you hear is so you hear limbs breaking and stuff falling, and I'm going, oh no. My God. So they get the live truck up, they get set up. I said, hey, guys, let's police the driveway real quick, okay?
We go
down there. It looked like it was a tank barrier.
There was no cleaning that up.
There was no,
right?
Well, no, we got it all.
Kicked it all off the thing.
2-3 guys pulled it up. So we got the driveway clear, and I'm going, God, I hope the owner isn't anywhere around this place. We just ruined this canopy of trees. So we get up there, and we're doing the deal, and we have a great live. We do a live hour program, 10 to 11 Kansas City, 11 to 12 Eastern time. Okay, we're in New York.
3 bottles of wine.
So we're out there. 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock, we go on. No George.
Not there yet.
Leslie.
Right.
His brothers are there. Both Herc Robinson and John Shearholtz are there.
You got some guests then.
So we have some peeps. So every time we go to commercial break, I think I did the 2 GMs first. And then I started doing his brothers, and I got his brother John to get John crying's easy. I just start talking about you mentioned us. John crying his eyes out, and so it was
teasing this. Are you teasing? George Brett's coming out.
Some great job. Every break, hey Joe, don't forget we're gonna get George. Every time my news director's in the office, he's there late on a Sunday night. He ain't happy about that. So every time he goes, "Where's George?" I said, "I don't know. He's not back up." He said, "Where's George?" I said, "I don't know. I got to go. I got to do the next segment." So then I did the brothers. We get to the bottom of the hour, right? He goes, "Where's George?" And I said, "He isn't here yet." And then all of a sudden you can hear the cars come, you see people turning. And all of a sudden here comes, I said, and so I go to his brother, I said, "Is that George?" He goes, "That's George." And then John goes, "Good luck." I said, "But I've already done the thing with George on his retirement."
Right.
Remember the deal I did the day he retired?
Yeah, that was
awesome.
How did it go?
Okay, so no, here's the deal. Here comes George. All right, he comes up. That's right, I just jumped subjects. We can go back to that in a minute. But so George comes up. Leslie's with him, and there's some other people who weren't really. So here comes George, and George gets out of the car. Hey, everybody! I'm just going, oh boy, here's a happy guy tonight. And I go to myself, perfect. Right. Because I'd done this before with George when he retired. He came downstairs holding a Coors Light and no shoes on when we did that night. But the deal, so he comes up. And then I said, Leslie, she didn't want to do it, but she came up and the whole deal. So I'm standing on a little mound. We start doing the interview, and it's great. George is having a great time talking about memories and talking about the other guys who were in with you. Robin Yount went in with him, and Nolan Ryan went in, and that was the last time he played Nolan Ryan down in Texas.
You were there too.
They got together. I was there. But the deal was, so we do our interview, and I'm standing on a little mound, but it's like a little slant like this, not the real.
So you don't look too short?
George is on the upside slant. Okay, so George is bigger. And that's me, and that's Leslie. So I'm talking to George. Then I turn to Leslie, and she moves a little bit to the right, and I've got my arm around her waist because I'm trying to keep her close to me for the shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? She keeps drifting.
You're not being inappropriate.
I'm not being inappropriate. I put my arm, I'm going to be in a second. I put my arm around her waist, and I'm holding her, so she'll stay in the shot. And so I turn to her, and she moves back a little, and she finds and she steps up. and my hand
grabs a little.
Was right there on her bottom, right, and the producer in there, I think it was Schneff, he yells, "Get your hand off Leslie's ass!"
Did George see any of that?
No, oh God, no, George didn't. George see it. Then here's the best part. So then later we find out through the grapevine that Brian Bracco, I think, was at Channel 9. I think he was the general manager, right? And as we're doing our live shot, okay, it's 10:30 back in Kansas City, right, when George finally shows up. I guess every other news director was praying because nobody else was there.
Right.
So everybody else was praying George wouldn't show.
Yeah.
You know?
So you'd be fucked.
So all of a sudden George is there for the last half hour and just telling stories the way he can. He's a great storyteller. And it was a great interview. We just had a great time. And so Brian Bracco called his crew. This is a story we heard now. Calls the crew and he goes, do you guys know where George Brett is right now? And they went, no, I think they were going out to dinner and they're doing stuff like that. They said, well, it's funny. I'm watching him on Channel 4 right now.
Wow.
I went,
I know where he is. He's on with fucking Frank Bowl right now.
Oh, yeah. That was not a good night.
Let me real quick ask you a question, because another live thing that happened.
And after this, ask the question you texted me last week to fucking ask him. Don't back down from that shit.
So...
Hey, I don't want to hear any of that.
A huge thing for sports radio 1510 was the John Tate situation. Okay?
Yes.
Ethan Locke.
Yes.
And we carried 30 minutes of his agent cussing out Carl Peterson.
That was great.
And
yes.
cursing. And we just
awesome.
so happened to plug in your camera just in time for him to cuss on Channel 4, too.
Yeah, he did. He dropped the F-bomb right there.
He dropped the F-bomb on Channel 4.
Right as Proctor just got in. Boom. I was Proctor, right?
I plugged Proctor in because I had worked there. I'm holding my Nextel cell phone up. We have this live on 1510.
And I was back in studio.
And so, like, Proctor comes up, and I'm like, they're going to go live. I said, fuck, I'm jamming the fucking thing in the back of his deal, and I'm holding the phone, and Whitlock's there, and Randy Kobitz was there. And so this is another thing. This is a very similar situation. So I don't know if you're on the television or not. I know you can be on the television, but it was just so happened to be like exactly 6:15 or something.
Yeah, no, I was on this. I was sitting on set.
So it was live. He says fuck, and I think Proctor's like, eyes were like, what you said this shit? And so I knew he was saying fuck. We've got a delay. I know our delay wasn't really working. I'm pretty sure Kevin's like, let him go, you know?
Yeah, right.
Let's play him all.
Oh, yeah.
And so during the middle of this thing, I see William Jackson, I believe, from Channel 5 come running up in the middle of it. And I had heard the story was similar to that. Because when John Tate and Ethan Locke and his agent left Arrowhead in a huff, people were chasing him
to the
car.
hotel across the
They were
street.
chasing him to the car, and someone says, is it over? And Ethan Locke goes, yeah, it's over. And they slam the door. So they thought, oh, it's done. It's over.
Yeah.
So I go chase him to the hotel because I know it ain't over because I was in the elevator with them, and their faces as red as Steven's fucking shirt. They're fucking pissed. And so I sat at the hotel for like 2 hours, 3 hours waiting for him to come downstairs. And so I guess at the same time that John Tate's agent is saying fuck on Fox 4 and Sports Radio 810, William Jackson is at Arrowhead going, yeah, it's over. We're going to find the details out. And they get in there. Do you know what the fuck is going on? They're on live on Fox 4 right now doing this shit. So those things, I mean, that's what.
Yeah, those things.
Following
we never
stories
quit.
and getting relationships
get them to the very end,
and doing all those things. You don't ever want to be the guy out to dinner when George Brett's on with Frank Bolt for half an hour.
Right.
You don't want to be the guy standing a half a mile away talking about, they said it's done.
Yeah.
And misinterpreting what it's done means.
Yeah, and when I was in the business, and I've always been this way, way back in the day, way back when I was in Pittsburgh, a good friend of mine was named Mike Burns. And his father was Bill Burns. I don't know if you know that name from all the journalism, but he was the first anchor in the country on KDKA TV when TV just started. His dad was on the air. Mike and I he went to South Hills Catholic. I went to Central. We played football against one another. My cousin went to high school with him, so I got to meet him through my cousin. We became pretty good friends. So every time he would come home from Princeton, I'm coming home from Villanova, we'd get down to meet his dad in downtown Pittsburgh. And we would sit and we'd go to Stouffer's restaurant in downtown Pittsburgh. We'd have lunch with his dad once a year. And it was like, I mean, you walk into Stouffer, I mean, this is like, Jesus Christ has just reemerged. Okay. I mean, it's Bill Burns. Oh my God. Yes, sir, Mr. Burns. Yes, sir, over here. He's a Korean War hero and the whole thing, right? The deal. So, we'd go and he always told me, way back in the day. He said, you'd be great at this business. He said, I think you would really, I think you got a little, I don't know about the football thing. I don't know about this. I know you're going to businessman, but I think you'd really be good at this deal. Never said much more about it. KDK never hired me. Damn it. I sent enough tapes to them, but they never hired me. But that was the deal. But and I don't know how much longer we got to go here, but here's the deal about Kansas City. When I was, like I said, I wasn't going to be here long when I first got here. Figured out maybe 2 contracts. Remember, I started late. I started the business, so I was 29 years old. So I'm moving.
He's
I'm
Whit Merrifield, finally making it big late.
Trying to make it big. So I'm applying for jobs and getting bites, and I got the offer from WPXI in Pittsburgh and KYW in Philadelphia and these deals. And it's funny, when Craig Roberts, you remember Craig Roberts, that name? Houston, sports director in Houston. He was on the same station with Ron Franklin. He and Franklin were on the same station together. And Craig and I became friends. We'd met each other. I think the first time we met was at the Rockets and the Kings. So every time I had a question about life and stuff, and he'd been in TV longer, I said, yeah. And every time I go, hey, listen, man, I think I'm getting nibbles from here and there. And he goes, hey, are you happy there? I said, oh, yeah. He said, why the hell would you want to leave? He said, you go to Pittsburgh's hometown, they might hate you. You go to Philadelphia, they hate everybody. So he said, what the heck's the deal? So I just stuck, and I am so glad that I did. Because,
don't run away from happiness.
No, absolutely. And I just fit here. That reminded me, the people here remind me of people from Pittsburgh. They're just hardworking, blue collar, charitable, nice. The whole deal, and it just had that feel about it. It was just, and that's why I ended up staying.
Kansas City's glad you did.
I always say, there's something about Kansas City.
Yeah, there's no question about it. That's why George Brett stayed here.
That's right. That's why Tom Watson.
Tom Watson. Sure. I mean, it's just what it is.
Enough out of you, sir.
Stayed here too.
You made me ask him last week who the biggest pain in the ass was he ever worked with at Channel 4, and I did. And he didn't answer, and now you're here. And I just and look,
everybody has a positive.
You can like
and
someone.
negative.
You can like someone, and they're a pain in the ass. Hey, Jake many times was a big giant pain in my ass. Nate can be a pain in my ass, so that it can be endearing. Who was the biggest pain in your ass?
Well,
from your TV days.
We'll put
in the sports department, or are you talking anyway?
Well, you're the one that asked the question.
Better go in the sports department then.
Yeah. The only problem I had, and I understood later why, was there was a lot of massaging had to be done between Al Wallace and Kevin Keesman. Okay, so there was always a little tension between those two individuals, and it was just one of those things. And I think it motivated them both to be as good as they could possibly be. I mean, Kevin, the TV thing for Kevin was too narrow. Okay, we obviously see what he's doing now or whatever, what he wanted. But it was always I can't talk enough. I got this story, and I've got to keep it to 1:30. And damn it, it's like 5 minutes story. I said, I ain't got 5 minutes. Okay, maybe you want to put a 5-minute story on Kansas City Sports Machine Sunday. It'll be an old story about it, whatever. And then, the two of them being with Frank Lee's, whatever, who's next. So there was a lot of tension between those two individuals when they were there.
And that was a pain in your ass, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't really a pain in my ass. It was something that being in the business, I had problem.
Well, you wanted to be the sports director. You got to fucking manage it.
Damn right you do.
Yeah.
I had a problem in Green Bay with the main guy there, Ken Lass. He was wanting to get out. He called me like 2 or 3 weeks later. I'm going, that should be my job. That should be my job. You got my job. What are you doing in my job? I'm going, Ken, you guys are killing it in BAY. You're doing wonderful things. What are you worried about?
I'll tell you this. I was there. I didn't work there the whole time that you worked with the group.
Hey,
there.
both of those guys are great, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean, they were really good at what they did.
I do,
and that's why they had to red it.
My favorite text messages. I will get text messages from Al Wallace during the show. Usually, you challenging something that Nate said, and I had to laugh my ass off.
Right.
I love
it. I'll say this. I think we had a really fucking good sports department.
We did.
We
were
really
awesome.
did.
Yeah.
Say something about that fresh-faced young man that you work with.
Stories.
He was easy.
We did.
Look how easy he is.
Tell me about what was young Todd Lebo like? I have to know.
Every time that I left and I knew Lebo was in charge of something, I never had to worry. And that's all I cared about with my producers.
Well, we had it was and it was so funny. Like you have to work for trust. right? And you have to be able to do that. And I've always felt that I've done a good job of that, and that's why I still have a job doing things. But it's a very scary time for me, and I've told this story on the radio before. And it's one of my greatest accomplishments and greatest fuck ups at the same time. So it's 1994 NCAA tournament, I think, and I think Jan was having surgery or something, and so Frank was had to be out, and so Al was with KU in Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's surprising.
Kevin was with Missouri and Proctor in Los Angeles. This is the 94 Missouri team that was undefeated in the league.
Shit.
And Kansas had been in the Final Four the year before. Yeah. And they left me back to run the shit because Frank was gone. And you never gone during March, but he was gone. So, Al would anchor the 6 o'clock news. Kevin would anchor the 10 o'clock news, and it was all from remote, right? And I'm back. And at this point, I'm a full-time. No, I'm not. I'm not a full-time employee.
Okay.
I think I'm making hourly wage.
All right.
But they've trusted me to do this, and I'm booking satellite time. I'm sending scripts and all this
You're
fucking stuff.
doing it all.
So I remember I send Kevin, and like you were talking about with Rink Ball, you could hear when the highlights change because when you're on satellite, you can't see the highlights you're calling.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you can now, but you couldn't.
I send him some stuff. It's the off day for I think both teams or whatever. I can't remember exactly how the thing was going. And K-State was in the NIT. So I send him stuff. We get done. I get home. I'm living with my parents. And, K-State had played Fresno in the NIT or something. And I just cut some highlights. And Kevin reads them off. And K-State wins 100 and whatever. I'm fucking exhausted. I go home. I made it through. I get home. And the NCAA tournament is on. So it doesn't end till 11 o'clock at night. I have a little Zenith TV in my bedroom, and I'm watching the highlights, and I watch Channel 5 comes on afterwards. Jack Harry's doing the sports. And he goes, Kansas is going to play fucking whoever and blah, blah, blah. He didn't say that part. And he goes, he goes, let me tell you what happened out in Manhattan.
Boys.
Ski Jones scores 4 points.
Oh, shit.
So I gave the highlights to Kevin. Kansas wins. K-State wins. I didn't know that he fucking scored the Big 12 record or Big 8 record 4 points.
Hey, you didn't tell him?
I didn't tell him.
Did you use the ski highlight?
Oh, yeah, they were ski highlights.
Okay.
They were all ski highlights. He was just fucking shooting shots.
Oh, my God.
Because the whole time I'm not paying attention to the game. It's the NIT. And so, this is before there was Twitter. You had no alerts. I didn't look at the box score. I just put the score up. They won. And I go, are you fucking kidding me? I just feel like I'm 24 years old. I've just produced all this shit. And I go, oh, major fucking detail. The guy just set the Big 8 scoring.
How much shit did you get for that?
I didn't get a lot of shit.
No,
you were good. I internally,
only because Kevin was doing the highlights.
Hey,
I just internally felt like, are you fucking kidding me? I bury the lead. The lead is this motherfucker just scored 3 points or whatever it was.
I'm gonna tell you this. One of my big takeaways from this podcast is
my fuck ups.
Is your fuck up. But Jack Carey was one bad motherfucker. Yeah. He was running shit around this deal, right?
Dude,
he was.
So funny.
I love Jack.
Hey, he was great.
Right.
Jack was
I
great.
love Jack.
When you know what it's like when you're a kid from Kansas
Competition.
City.
I mean,
Right.
I'm a kid from Kansas City, and then I was working with fucking Frank Bull. It freaked me out, as an intern, and then working for free, and then working for part time,
which wasn't such a big deal.
And I'll never forget. I've told this story before too. With a fucking carton of peanuts at Kauffman Stadium, using the payphone to call him at night, and he says, "Yeah, you got the job finally." You only get associate producer pay, but you got the job. I'm like, I'll fucking take the job, Frank. I'm selling peanuts.
Right now, do your peanut call. You're out there. You're
bag of nuts, peanuts here, jumbo bag of nuts.
Bag of nuts.
Over here, yeah, right here.
Bag of nuts.
Lebo was great. Smartest guy I've ever known. Smartest guy.
Hey,
that's not true.
Smartest guy. He has a memory
should have been on Wall Street.
like an elephant.
It's fucking losing it. I'm getting older on that.
Prevagen.
But I remember the first time I met that I actually met Jack Harry was at spring training in 1999 when I was working here. I was just too scared to say hello to Jack.
That's probably around the same time I met him first.
And you know what? Honestly, Kevin was kind of intimidated by Jack, and he was kind of scared to talk to him. When we were at spring training, and we were in the next booth over doing stuff, and we're like, well, this fucking guy is just really cool.
I was scared to talk to Jack, and he was
scared.
cool as shit.
You should have been to spring training with Jack and I before the
Fort
satellite
Myers and
trucks.
shit.
Right? We'd go to
Yeah.
Fort Myers. We'd come with about 5 or 6 shirts, right? Same shorts.
Switch them all up.
But 5 or 6 shirts. Do a story on Willie Wilson. do a story on George Brett.
All in one day.
Do a story, but we'd only send one package back a day.
That's right. That's right.
They would go out and play golf or go swimming in the Gulf of Mexico.
I remember after I first met Frank a couple times, but I kind of knew but didn't know. And then one time he shows up, he goes, "What's up, scum?"
Yep.
And I was like, why is he fucking mad at me? What did I do? And then you said, no, he likes you. That's good.
That's good for you.
If he calls you his name, he don't fucking like you.
Yeah.
And so this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for telling us all these stories and being open and honest. But so here's the deal. No. We could fucking tell stories all day long.
Forever.
So this is what I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
From time to time, will you come back in here with this jerk off and tell more stories? I mean, we could do this all day. I mean, just to tell stories, and you two would just and talk. I mean, because people love this, and I love it.
Stories.
We didn't even get to the
great.
part where you worked at fucking Channel 41.
That's right. Didn't get to
There we go. Part 3 down the road.
Didn't get to the part where I worked at Channel 5, and then
For
they
a
didn't
minute and a
hire me,
half.
but I did. But I still did that pregame basketball thing.
Because you're a fucking
It doesn't
pro.
have to be next week, but will you come back?
Yes, he will.
Sure.
You have to. You are now.
Just make sure Lebo's here because Lebo's got all the facts.
Right. You are
Have
now
you ever
in
considered drinking your own urine?
same group.
I do not drink my
You're in
own
the same group as Jake Gutierrez and, more importantly, Steve St. John Sr., and you like being in that group. You are now a recurring guest on Hot Mic with SSJ because we love you. And we love you, all right?
I
And
love you guys, too. You know that.
That is the one and only Frank Bowl, Todd Lebo. I'm Steven St. John. This has been Hot Mic with SSJ. Until next episode, the microphone is off.